This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
Oh, Manny Navarro, how are you doing, sir? How was your weekend?
It was fabulous. Oh, I got to spend a little bit of time with the family, not have to go out and travel anywhere to a football game. But I was watching football. I just wasn't, doing it in a stadium. So it was a nice weekend.
Okay, so we are going over what happened with the Dolphins, obviously, and unfortunately, those fans out there, because I did something stupid. I gave them the benefit of the doubt, and I thought at 3-0 in the offense, and they were ready to turn the corner. But we had that group of Dolphin fans that were actually they had the right attitude. I'm not doing it. Same old Dolphins until they do it. I'm not going to believe it. This, that. They had the right attitude. Because unfortunately, the Dolphins proved once again what they've been for 30 years. They're a fraudulent team. More often than not, they'll beat the shitty teams, and then they'll struggle against the real teams more often than not. And so the Hurricanes have kind of that team too at times too, that they can sometimes get some wins against crappy teams. But lately, under other coaches, they were, even with Mario last year, they were even losing to the crappy teams.
Right.
This year, Miami is 4-1. I'll be 4-0. And already on their schedule, they beat a Texas A&M team who is 4-1, by the way, who has won all their games except the Miami game that they ended up losing. So, overall, you start looking at it and you start saying, okay, is Miami farther from fraudulent than the Miami Dolphins? Like, we know the Dolphins are frauds. How about the University of Miami? Does Mario Cristobal have them closer to being legit contenders than frauds?
It's a hard question to answer, because I think the one element that you have to remember here with Miami is these kids have shown that tendency to lose focus, right, in the past. Whereas I think professional athletes, like the Dolphins getting exposed on defense, they were Sunday was okay. They haven't necessarily upgraded that position, right? There's some holes in that defense, and offensively, they faced a team that made adjustments to what they had been doing. With college kids, sometimes it's just a mental sort of fart that happens, right? And so I have yet to see a Miami team since the last national championship team sort of show the traits where they're not human, where they have mental farts, where they don't show up. And I think it's still to be determined. Like, we'll know, like a weekend like this one coming up against Georgia Tech, who is terrible on defense. This is one of those perfect trap games for Miami, because the next 2 weeks after this game against Georgia Tech are real opponents. You have North Carolina, you have Clemson back to back. This is the kind of game that the old Miami teams would show up to, and then all of a sudden you're like, okay, they're supposed to kill Georgia Tech this week, but they're in the fourth quarter and they're clinging to a field goal lead and having to survive. Like, even the 2017 team did this at times. So I'm not ready to say that they are completely past all the BS, but I'm certainly willing to say this is as good as they've looked in a while, and I'm confident in Mario Cristobal that he's going to do his job to make sure the guys are ready to play.
Let me do quick math here. 128-17 against Miami of Ohio, Bethune-Cookman, and Temple.
Yeah. No, listen, they took care of business those first 4 games, but I also think,
which is what they did not do in prior years, actually. So
correct.
I have a little more hope that this team now, this version here, because he flushed out a lot of shit from the team last year. And so it just looks like he brought in just a completely new attitude also with those 40 kids. And so that's kind of why I think things are changing, because I just gave you the total of those 3 games. And so that tells me at least, you're getting more. What I would say is they're getting a little bit more away from being that fraud.
No, they are. And I think Mario is the key to that all, because he's very focused. I just asked Tyler Van Dyke during the media session, the Zoom media session we had with some of the players a little while ago. I said, Tyler, you guys had a bye week last week. Did you do anything for fun? He said, yeah, we went to Putt Shack. They played mini golf. I think we know what some of the former Hurricane teams would be doing, right? If they were 4-0 and feeling good about themselves. So
Yeah, but those great. Are you talking about the great ones, or are you talking about the shitty ones as of late? I'm
I'm saying
talking.
even the shitty ones, like even
Okay,
the bad ones. Oh,
the great ones used to go party. They're like
yeah,
Michael
they
Jordan.
could do that though. They could do that because they just had to show up Saturday. And
Yeah.
I'm
Michael will
talking,
be playing till like 3 a.m. Then
yeah,
he'll go to the McDonald's drive-through and then score 50 points on your ass. You know what I'm saying?
right,
So
right.
the old Canes were doing that kind of. These newer Canes, yeah, they got complacent really quick, and that I guess they're battling complacency more than the rambling wreck this week, is what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the question, and how much of it is real. And I guess for me, I look at 20 years of proof of these are so many examples of the last 20 years where they became, even when they had a little bit of success, it always seemed that they had a stinker in there, right? Somewhere
Yeah.
in there where they were not gonna show up and play the way that they were supposed to. But look, they go out and they dominate Georgia Tech this week like they're supposed to. I think they're what are they, a 17-point favorite, 17 and a half point favorite
Yeah,
or
it's
something
something
like that?
ridiculous. It's a ridiculous number. Yeah.
They
Yeah.
they go out there and win this game by 3 or 4 touchdowns like they should, because again, Georgia Tech is horrendous on defense. And against the run in particular, which is what Miami should be doing against them. I want to see Miami run for 300 yards against them again. Uh, I think if they do that, then you say, okay, this feels a little bit more real. They took a bye week because remember what their record was after bye weeks under Manny Diaz? Do you remember that?
Oh
They
God.
couldn't win a game
Yeah.
after a bye week.
Terrible. Yeah, they would lose every time. Yeah.
Every time.
Yeah.
So, and it was like lose your focus, right? And so to me, that's I want to see that before I'm completely like, okay, oh, this is a completely different team. That's all. One more hurdle to cross. Do it this week.
The what's it called? The safety. Good
Cam
news.
Kitchens. Yes. Cam Kitchens is back this week. Again, it's what I told you. They were going to be very, you know, take all the precautions in the world to make sure that he's 100%. You had two easy opponents the last 2 weeks in Bethune-Cookman and Temple, and there was no reason to rush him back. Plus, you had the bye week, which was going to give him another week away from football to fully get over, the issues that he was dealing with. So I think ultimately here, man, they're in as good a shape health wise heading into the meat of their schedule as they've been in a long time. And I don't think there's going to be any excuses when they line up and play North Carolina in 2 weeks. When they line up and play Clemson, like you're basically at full strength. So as long as they get out of this game Saturday without any major injuries, that'll be the case.
Dude, and it comes out perfect because he gets the 3 weeks of rest, and then he gets a week of playing Georgia Tech
Right,
before the tough 2 games too.
right.
So
Nice little
he
warm
gets
up.
back into football shape, and gets back into the groove
Yeah.
before those 2 games. I think that's really cool. It's unlike, let's say, I don't know, Vic Fangio saying, "Hey, Brandon Jones, you haven't played for a while. You're coming off a knee injury. Hey, why don't we bench Deshaun Elliott and start you against the Bills? Because that makes a
Yeah.
lot of sense.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
kind of stupidity, that kind of moronic decisions by certain people sometimes will burn you. You know what I'm saying? So it really works out for Cam Kitchens.
Yeah.
I know they should win. I know they should dominate. What's the fear of Georgia Tech?
That they can score some points and they have some receivers that can make plays, just that they're explosive in that regard. And they had 8 sacks against Wake Forest, who, by the way, gives up sacks to everybody, but they did have 8 sacks against Wake Forest. So they can bring pressure, and they've got some guys at the receiver position that can make plays. So those are two elements where, let's say Miami starts turning the ball over, which is what they haven't done all year. They've protected it really, really well. But let's say Tyler has a bad day. There's some balls that bounce off guys' hands, and you're giving Georgia Tech a short field. That's what you fear. You don't want to keep them in the game with your mistakes, because they can score points, and they can get to the quarterback and hit them. So those are the only two areas that I think you say, okay, this is what we got to guard against these guys.
Is any issues with Miami going into this game? Anything to be concerned about? Because you said they were pretty healthy, so it looks like
Yeah, I
overall.
mean, I think we'll see if we get Akeem Mesidor and Branson Dean back. Those two defensive linemen that have also been out since the Texas A&M game. Mario's not making any promises. I think with any of those guys, and then Elijah Arroyo, who's yet to play, your tight end. Miami's done all this, by the way, without really having a tight end on offense. So Elijah is the one guy that I think they trust to line up and block and go out and catch passes. And Riley Williams, a true freshman, has had moments where he's flashed, but reality is Miami's put up all these points and had all this offensive success without even using a tight end to this point. So that's a wrinkle that I think will be interesting to monitor when we get to North Carolina and Clemson. Is are you sort of saving that extra layer of your offense for those guys so that you have something new to throw at them?
I know you were you got an article in the Athletic talking about the race for the Heisman and your voting and all that. What'd you think of Caleb coming out saying, well, I can make more money next year in NIL than I would as a rookie quarterback. So I'm
Yeah.
going to see who's there, because he gave I forgot the 5 teams he gave that he would play for.
Mm-hmm.
Dolphin fans, no, you weren't included in it. Relax already. So stop for I know the Tua haters are going to be piling on right away. But
Right.
what'd you think of that? Because it is true, guys like Caleb and Sanders' kid,
Mm-hmm.
uh,
Sure.
both,
Yeah.
yeah, they both can make more money from NIL than they could their rookie year as a quarterback. So they can kind of control where they go, at least for 1 year.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's interesting, and this is what NIL was honestly really meant to do, which is to keep some kids in school that probably shouldn't be leaving early. Caleb Williams is obviously an exception; he'd be the number 1 pick regardless.
Right.
But I think there's a lot of other guys, certainly, other guys in years past, right, that have left the University of Miami, and you said, well, why the hell did that guy enter the draft? He went in the 7th round, or he went in the 6th round.
Right.
Well, NIL exists now, so there's no reason for him to leave if he can get enough money to do what he needs to do for his family, etc. So, I look, Caleb Williams, just like every other elite number 1 quarterback who didn't want to go to a shitty team, he's going to say whatever he wants. Him and his father are going to say whatever they want to try to get themselves in a good situation. And look at Bryce Young this year, right? That Carolina team is pretty awful around him. And they're 0-4 and he's struggling. And so I can't blame Caleb Williams for looking at that situation and say, man, do I really got to go play for the Bears, or do I really got to go play for, somebody else like the Raiders, who are horrible? I don't know. I didn't even look at the list of which teams he put there, but
He put
you know.
Dallas, and I'm
Mhm.
like, why? Why would you want to go to Dallas? It's
Yeah.
like they're always a mess. They're that guy, that owner. Why do you want to play for that guy? It's like, well, whatever. I get it. Maybe he's a Cowboys fan since he was a kid or something like that. But yeah, he did put the Cowboys there, which was kind of weird because like they don't win anything. But it's odd. All right, what are you working on the Athletic to get Canes fans ready for Georgia Tech and the Ramblin' Wreck?
Well, we'll have more ACC coverage, our ACC power rankings. I think we're gonna have a mailbag again soon. I have a story coming out on one of the top local prospects, Roger Bell. Remember Roger Bell?
Of
His
course.
son, Dia, is a 10th grader at Plantation American Heritage. He's one of the best quarterbacks in the country in the 2026 class. I know Miami's after him, and a whole bunch of other teams in state are doing a little feature on him, on Dia. So that's something to read. And look, man, there's just a ton of stuff every week in the Athletic. So subscribe, read, listen to my podcast, the Wide Right podcast. I do that every single week to provide lots of Kings coverage. So that's what they can do.
There you go. Follow him on Twitter at Manny_Navarro. Manny, as always, thank you. We will catch up on Friday, my friend.
All right, brother. Take care.
You got it. Go to caneswear.com. If you order over $100, you will get free shipping. If you use my code BIGO10, you will get 10% off. Whether you go in person or online, use our code BIGO10. All right. I don't say it enough. So use our code BIGO10 to get 10% off. They got anything and everything practically with the Canes logo on it. They've got Dolphins gear, Panthers gear, InterMiami gear. They got it all, dude. All right. Heat gear, all kinds of stuff. Caneswear.com.
This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.